Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today, my phone is going to ring right at the beginning of the episode. This is Scam Likely calling me, and we're going to hang up on that, and I'm going to turn the ringer off because, wow, I'm not starting over. No, this is happening. This is happening live. That's hilarious. Ringer off. Wow. Technical difficulties. Thoroughly unprofessional here on Dreamscapes. That's how we roll. Today we have our friend Shannon Grissom from Fresno, California, and she is an author, artist, producer, creator of the Sock Monkey Oracle. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment, but first, the housekeeping. Please stop what you're doing. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Always need more volunteer dreamers. 13 currently available works of historical dream literature. Donation links below. Get a t-shirt, yada, yada. That's the housekeeping. Back to Shannon. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I was pretty excited to have you tell me about this because you're the creator and the artist of it. And I see your art in the background. Yeah. That's very nice. So what is the Sock Monkey Oracle?
Okay, so it's a deck of oracle cards, and it started about 20 years ago. I started doing these sock monkey paintings. It was a tribute to my mom who had passed away.
Frozen. It froze up right away.
We froze.
Yeah.
We froze. So
right?
I stopped.
And we're back. Yeah. So what is the Sock Monkey Oracle? Take two.
So what it is it's a deck of oracle cards, and you know the difference between oracle cards and tarot cards. Tarot cards, they're all every fool in every deck has got the same basic meaning, different artwork, of course, different writing, but it all has the same basic flavor. But the oracle cards are whatever the creator comes up with. And so I started painting the sock monkey as a tribute to my mom after she passed, because she was a music major with a sense of humor, and I just thought it would be fun. Well, I just kept going, and I always had this oracle card deck in mind. But so I kept painting, and along the way, I had this Forrest Gump-like journey. The sock monkeys were licensed on golf club head covers, and they ended up on tour with LPGA pros. And I got to be a marshal at a U.S. Open, a women's open. I mean, so they've had all these different lives, but and I always had the oracle card deck in mind, but I didn't do it. So it took me about 20 years. I kept painting, about 50 paintings. And during the pandemic, I had two one-woman shows. Totally, as soon as I got them hung, they totally shut down because everything was on lockdown, right? Nobody could see my work. Here they are locked away. And I'm like, okay, this is a major course correction from the universe. I am supposed to be doing something different. And I thought, okay, what is on my list that's not gallery oriented that I need to get done? And I immediately thought of the oracle cards. So I did the graphic design for the cards. And then based on the artwork, all the 46 paintings. And then then it came time to write the text, what the oracle was going to say and all that good stuff. And at first I was like, oh, well, who am I to be an oracle, right?
Right.
And then I heard in my head, who are you not to just, basically shut up and write? And, we're giving it to you. So they did. Over the course of the month, I've got all this great, amazing content. And so then the oracle card deck was born. And I pitched it to Beyond Words Publishing. They are an imprint of Simon & Schuster. And it took a year for everything between the edits and all that good stuff. And they were released in April, and they're doing really well. I'm really excited.
That is amazing. So the first thing I thought was like tarot, and you're saying it's actually different. So
yeah,
what is the difference? How does that work? Yeah, take your time.
So with me, there's they're the same as tarot in that you pick a card and you pull it, and it's got a message. In this case, it's see no bad stuff.
Okay.
So my deck, the difference between every oracle deck has what I call a flavor. They all have a theme. There's fairies, there's elves, there's goddesses, whatever you can think of. The sock monkey thing, they're just about, I wanted, basically what I do with Oracle cards is I pull a card for the day and say, okay, what's my message? What do I need to hear today? What's my focus? And for the sock monkey oracle, I wanted people to get a quick answer, some guidance, and a hug, and be on their way. Not this 20-page thing on, because who's got time to read that? So, so that's basically what it is. You pull a card, and then you look it up in the guidebook, and it gives you the answer. And should I do a reading for you?
Yeah, I mean, you pulled See No Bad. That was the first one that popped up. Let's see what it's telling us about this experience, perhaps.
Okay. So this, I'll give you an example of one of the writings. So you pull the card and you look it up in the book, and this one says,
"Oh no!"
Okay, so we'll start again. We froze right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
So right in the middle. Okay, so what it says is the latest news from the jungle getting you down? Did you encounter one too many distasteful posts on monkey media? Oof! Stop looking. Find another way to get your information, because there are some things you just can't unsee. Instead, look for the good. Take a walk and appreciate each new bloom. Do a web search for happy stuff. Take a trip to the stationery store and read all the funny greeting cards until you laugh out loud. Bottom line, hunt positivity down and dwell on it. Dwell in it. Filter what you view so the yucky stuff doesn't appear in your stream of consciousness. The more you look for beautiful vistas, the more you will see. And then each card has a message, and then it has two other components. One is a symbolic frolic, because monkeys love to play, they frolic. And so that means to focus on positivity and conscious living. And then the affirmation, I turbocharge my affirmations. Instead of just saying, I am this, this, and this, I always add the word love, because that really makes me own it. So I love that I look for the good. So that would be your message today. Instead of whatever's hitting the fan, focus on the happy dog videos.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you feel good, so that it can shift your energy. So and the whole deck is like that, just with different themes. So
Very
that's
cool.
pretty much, and then it has different spreads. It has a pair of socks spread, a messy drawer spread. I mean, any way you want to play with this is good.
Very cool. And that's nice that was the random one that turned up for us.
Yeah.
Today. So definitely. And there's something I do with my dream interpretations. We'll get around to that eventually, but I do always try to look for the good. And what does that mean? I don't always try to put a positive spin on things. If something's negative, it's negative, but how can we use it for good? How can we make our lives better by understanding even something that's unpleasant? So that's, very relevant card, I would say, for my process. And awesome. Definitely what would I be doing if I wasn't talking to you? I'd probably be trolling the tweeters. But instead I'm here talking to finding new information that I didn't know before.
That's awesome.
And another thing that this made me think of is, I very much like almost a rolling of the dice kind of thing, and not run your whole life by that necessarily, but you mentioned, what is the universe trying to tell me? One path is blocked. You could just stop there and stare at it, literally bang your head against that barrier, against the wall, or you be like water. You find a new channel around, you pull up, you get your resource, and you take another path and follow that. Either you let your creativity get blocked and your progress gets stopped, or you got to pick another path. That's a very, very good way to do it. The other thing that came to mind was the idea of, I've got my ABC series, which I'll take little clips from the shows and put them up there, or I've done different things like analyzing dream dictionary, but the ABC for me stands for, it's the ABCs of dream interpretation, ABCs, but it's augury, bibliomancy, and chaos.
Oh, wow.
And so the augury is, predicting, looking into the future, trying to understand signs, even if it's just as scientific as cause and effect. That's augury in its own way. Bibliomancy is what I wanted to focus on, because there's actually something very similar that some, say, Christian mystics might practice, which is they just spin the Bible, thumb through pages, stop, blind, and point to a verse. And that is their way of saying, well, God is speaking to me, wants me to look at this. I found it randomly by this. And that's the literal meaning of bibliomancy in that sense. But for me, my version of bibliomancy is my psychology training, the books I've read, the books of historical dream literature I'm working on right now. But the sock monkey deck is very, very much like that. You shuffle it, it's random. And what is that roll of the dice gonna offer me to look at today? I think that's fantastic. And it is very different than tarot. Yeah, no, I had tarot in mind the whole time. I thought it was a sock monkey version of a tarot deck.
No, it's not. It's not that at all. Because it doesn't have. It has 40. There are 46 cards, and it has 46 states of being, but it's not. It's not.
Ah, you froze again. 46 states of being. Sorry.
Yeah. So not set up. I would say each suit of the tarot is set up as a journey, and it's but this is random.
Yeah.
But with that other bibliomancy, I have for years I've been compelled to open a book and look at a line, and it doesn't matter whether it's spiritual or something really logical, and see what that word is, what, and I've been compelled, go look it up. I'll even go look at page 46, and I'll go do that. And that's, I'm getting, it's something that I'm not paying attention to that I need to look at. So it's amazing.
And those kind of messages, in a way, that's a good way to conceptualize it. They can come through in our waking life as much as they can come through in our sleep. It seems like they're more likely in our sleep, or we're more receptive to them in our sleep. And very often it's these background processes that something we've just put on a shelf and let it percolate, like brewing coffee. That's one of my favorite metaphors. Let it percolate. We'll see if it makes a tasty brew or not. And sometimes that's where those random thoughts during the daytime come from. Something we've been thinking about for a long time, and it's just been running in the background. That's another metaphor to like computer programs running in the background. And eventually it'll throw out some numbers. It'll throw out a result. It'll say, look at this, think about that. And you're like, okay. And then sometimes you discover why. Maybe it was useful. Or you make it useful. Sometimes if I waffle back and forth on the hard science, no spooky woo, and there's a lot of metaphysical shit I don't understand. So in some ways, it doesn't matter which it is. If you can make something of it, it's useful.
Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, like my husband's completely very logical, just the facts, that kind of thing, and I'm woo. And so, but I've always had dreams that were not every dream is prophetic, but I've always had ones that are. And so I had one where I dreamed my sister-in-law was going to die if she didn't get off of a certain medication. Oh, wow. And I don't normally call her, and then you can kind of usually tell the difference between something that's going to happen and something that's just a dream you're processing. So anyway, I said, okay, Dwight, I know it's really early in the morning, but I'm calling your sister, and she needs to know that she needs to get. I don't even know what medicine is, and so I call her and I said, honey, she goes, I can't talk to you right now. I'm having an allergic reaction to medicine. I'm going to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So I told Dwight, I go, okay, how do you logic that one out? He goes, okay, that was impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations like that where, you can construct a theory that maybe you subconsciously heard something about a medicine and the potential of side effects, and it was never in your full awareness, and eventually you put it together and you were worried enough to call. But is that any more likely than the other way around, that you got some other kind of a connection going on? There's the tremendous possibility that we do have human connections psychically, in a sense, in a very scientific sense. And, like the vibration signals that we just don't understand how they work. I would like to, what do they say? Any sufficiently advanced technology looks like magic to someone that doesn't understand how it works. So a lot of things, we didn't understand germ theory for the longest time. We thought demons were giving people boils, and it's like, no, it's a bacteria and we can treat it with this cream. Now we know. And it's not so mystifying and supernatural anymore. I'd like to think a lot of the things, maybe eventually in the future, we'll get around to understanding that a little bit better, how these cause and effect relationships fit together and be able to use it more reliably. It's my biggest problem with, say, belief or recommendation of some of that kind of stuff is I couldn't tell you how to make use of it reliably. So I can't recommend it as a method. I can say that's pretty damn cool. I talked to another lady recently who, you know, we looked at her dream as metaphorical, but she also had a very strange experience where she dreamed she was going to see someone or go to a place, and it like happened the next day. And this was not like, oh, she was planning to go there, so she dreamed about it. No, she got an invite that she didn't anticipate from someone else. Thought was never in her head, plan was never on the table. Very, very interesting. No idea what to do with that. Not going to poo-poo it. Not going to say, oh, it's all nonsense. I'm going to say that I don't have an answer for that. Not going to pretend. So yeah. Keeping that open mind. I consider myself a credulous skeptic, willing to believe anything, but my bar for proof is pretty high. But I'm not going to take these stories and go, you know, I don't think you're lying to me. I don't think you're delusional. It's just something I can't explain. So put that in that box, right? And there's a big tradition of prophetic dreams going back 2,000 years. So it's not that this is in any way impossible. I have a real life friend who told me he dreamed about a very specific scenario, and a week later, literally same place, same circumstance, spoke the same words, had that kind of double deja vu situation going. And he's like, whoa, this is from my dream. No idea what to do with that. That's amazing. Mind blowing. Anyway, I've been rambling. I did want to ask you about the art in the background. What's the face on the easel? That's really
she
cool.
Is okay. So this was a cool thing. I was supposed to do a demonstration for a painting club, and there's a lot of pressure in doing that kind of thing. So instead of, so I had this reference photo, and it's kind of like a cooking show where you have part of it done and then the other part, so that I could show all the stages and so that I could have something that was aesthetically pleasing through the whole process. And when I first told them that I was going to do a demo, I said, I'm going to do a palette knife demo. And so then later I changed my mind and I was going to do this sock monkey painting. And when I got there, they were disappointed. They said, no, we want to see you paint with the knife because that's so different than, and you can tell the difference. The sock monkey's very smooth and more realistic, and this thing's wild, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you know what? I should get her too, because you have to see the.
Sure.
So if you see the paint up close, okay, look at the text. Yeah.
Much different. Close.
And so that's a totally different thing. So so the cool thing is, I was painting with with no reference photo. I said, okay, if you guys have an extra, I don't have an extra canvas, but if you have one, I'll do the knife demo. So they gave me one, and I just stood up to the canvas and said, of course, I'm woo-woo. Okay, who wants to show up today?
Yeah.
And she did. And I just, that's it. Just little random spots of color until she just burst out. I mean, she is breaking loose.
Yeah,
and,
that's beautiful too. I don't know if you want to put it back on the easel so it's in our shot.
Sure.
I want people to be able to keep seeing it. It is beautiful.
So that was interesting because that was a good lesson for me in trust. Right? Because here I tried to control the other painting I was going to do. I tried to control every little aspect so that the whole, and I wanted the experience to be good for them, but I also, some people can't visualize where a painting can go. So I really wanted to do the whole thing, but it was like, no, you just got to do it. And it was very authentic, so it was an amazing experience. But I am doing a series of those, and they're going to be my next Oracle card deck.
That is very cool. I like that idea too, because I'm legit autistic. I've said it a million times on the show. So structure, order, very important to me. And here I am doing this dream thing, which is like loose associations, which I seem to have a knack for. But there's this equal parts for me of like trusting the process and definitely enjoying the fascination of I never know what I'm going to hear. And equal parts anxiety. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know that I'm going to succeed at all. And literally, I think 83 out of 84 times I've given someone something useful that they're like, that makes sense. You're not just, blowing smoke. You're like, you hit on something. And I'm like, it's a miracle. I don't know where that comes from. And I just kind of let it happen. You do have to let go and trust and say, okay, show me what's going to happen. I'm here for it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely.
It's awesome that you can let go. I mean, and I know that, it's funny because there's this type of paint pouring painting where it's supposed to be this loose, uncontrolled thing. And here I am trying to control it, right? And I'm laughing at myself the whole time because this is supposed to be some free, loose thing. And I'm trying to make it, but some of these things, if I would just let go, come out so much better.
Oh, you froze again. Boom, 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 boom. Killing time. Do 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 do. Hello. Speaking of not knowing what's gonna happen, it was like 5-6 times already. That's okay. I don't know if you remember what you were in the middle of. I've completely forgot. I started humming to myself.
That's
yep.
It was all about control. And obviously, we don't have any, right? It's just happening. So that was an illustration for
right. I'm tempted to leave this. These interruptions are so short. I'm tempted to leave them in, but I'm probably going to go back and try and tighten it up and make both of us look like we know what we're doing. Well, I don't know if you wanted to say more about. So definitely, people can go to sockmonkeyoracle.com. Links in the description below. You can find Shannon Grissom on Twitter at Shannon Grissom. Again, it'll be in the in links in the description on YouTube and the audio podcast. But if you wanted to say more about your work or where people can find you, that's fine. If you want to jump into the dream thing, I know we got a little short on time.
We're good on time. If they want to see everything I do, because I'm also a songwriter, had a television show called Give Your Wall Some Soul. So if you want to see everything, the whole enchilada, go to shannongrissom.com. But if you're just, and that will also point you to Sock Monkeys. But if you just want to check out my work with Sock Monkeys, then go to sockmonkeyoracle.com.
Yeah, I want to make sure all of these links are in the description. I like to be thorough about that.
They have links to TikTok, to every place I live.
I need to get onto TikTok, but I'm not having I don't do recording on my phone. I sit at my computer, I do this thing here, I do all my editing here.
Can actually, so you can, one way around that is you can record on your desktop, format it in whatever program you want so that it's the right ratio, and you can upload it. You can upload TikTok videos from your desktop.
Okay.
You can. And I typically do that. I prefer to do as much work. I don't like working that small, so I do as much work on my desktop as I can. And in fact, for all the videos, I do one video and then I do it in several different formats. And the only one I upload from my phone is the Instagram Reel. Everything else, I do it from my desktop. Yeah,
I was going to say that's one of my gripes with Instagram. I can access every one of my social media except Instagram. I gotta copy paste, like email it to myself and then upload it on my phone from Instagram.
Yeah.
Instagram, get your shit together. I do need the real estate. Like you can probably see better than most folks. Like I cut off the mirror back here to tighten myself, but you can probably see this is me in the background with my this is a 46-inch HD TV as my monitor. I'm going blind and deaf. So I need the real estate to work with so I can see what I'm doing. Tiny little phones, not so good.
It makes me tired, makes me twitch.
Oh yeah. Well, I get these big fat thumbs too. It's like, these were not made for me. For a man my size.
And besides, it makes your neck get sore and stiff and all that.
Yeah, no, you'll end up getting problems. You got to stretch that out. So, okay. I think we've given everyone an idea of who you are and kind of where you're coming from. Gave me a chance to get to know you a little bit better so I didn't used to do this as much, but now I do, where I talk to people more in the beginning. I like to go in blind. I don't want to hear anything about the dream. First impression, random associations, don't overthink it. I just roll with it. But I talk to people now a little bit more and I'm like, okay, I get a little bit of an idea of their personality, what they believe spiritually, maybe how they are engaged in their business or personal life. And I can kind of bring that a little bit into, okay, this type of symbol might lean more in this direction because of who they are. And everything's, anyone who's watched any of these episodes know I'm not a big fan of dream books where they tell you if you dream of a clam, it means X. It always means X for everyone every time. I do not believe that personally. I think one person dreams of a clam, it means money, like clams. One other person dreams of the ocean. And I've lost you again. It's frozen. I'm gonna splice that in, but I'm gonna leave my my ramble. And we're back. I didn't hear it. Probably. I pretty much stopped talking when I noticed you were frozen. I was talking about clams and dream dictionaries.
I didn't even hear that part.
Oh no! What's the last thing you heard?
We were frozen a long time.
Oh. Yeah. I'm bad with eye contact.
Basically, you said you were basically saying that you used to go right into the dream. Now you're getting a little background and
basically that's it. Yeah. And I found that actually to be a little bit more effective. Gives me a little bit better. And I just mentioned briefly that I'm not a fan of one size fits all dream dictionary approach. For one person, they dream of clams. It might be clams, money, because that's how they associate it in their mind. Another person, it might be clams because they had a house on the sea when they were a child, and that reminds them of their grandfather. Therefore, it's always got to, in my estimation, it's got to be personal and specific to each person. So you're definitely not going to get one size fits all, even though there's common associations we all have with some things. It gives us a place to start at least. But speaking of which, why don't we do the thing?
Okay.
Let's share your dream. And so my process, I'm just going to shut up and listen. And you tell me the whole thing beginning to end, and then we'll go back through it again, see what we can make of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this wasn't one of those real long ones. Basically, I was getting on the bus. It was like a city transit bus, and there wasn't a ton of people on. I can't tell you who was driving. I would say maybe a handful of people on the bus. And I go to get a piece of paper. I want to write a song, but there's no paper there. And I ask everybody there, can I just have a piece of paper? Can I borrow a piece of paper? I don't know why it didn't occur to me to write something on my phone or whatever. But anyway, in the dream, the paper was the thing. And then, so then there was no paper, or people had it, but they wouldn't give it to me. And so I see this couple, I think it was their anniversary. They wouldn't give me paper anyway, so I get off the bus. But I really want to write this song. So I get back on the bus, and I start asking people if they have a typewriter. Do you have a typewriter? So I'm like, asking everybody there, do you have a typewriter? No, nobody's got a typewriter. And that was it. Then I don't know what was it.
I think your audio kind of fell off right at the end there. You were asking for a typewriter, and then that was about...
And nobody had a typewriter. I could see one in the corner. Again, nobody would give me the tools I needed, to write this song. Again, the bus was... I don't remember, it wasn't like it was black and white, but everything was kind of grayed, gray tones. And I can't remember who was driving. So that's interesting. I don't even remember seeing a bus driver. I just remember the passengers.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the driver at all. It
is interesting that stood out. That's one of those things where sometimes what we see and what we don't see, what should be there but isn't. Yeah. That can make a difference.
Yeah.
Your audio keeps doing the kind of cutting in and out again thing.
Yeah, I'll get closer and see if that's...
Sorry about that. It might be. I don't know if there's still like an audio clamp on your side somewhere or mine. It's been
you never know.
Comedy of errors. It's I'm rolling with it. What's going to happen? Yeah. Who knows? Hopefully people find it charming that I'm so discombobulated constantly. It's my superpower. No idea what I'm doing. I'm just amused by everything. Okay, so we got the dream. That's the long and the short of it. And again, for folks out there, it doesn't have to be long. I've had shorter dreams that we got a tremendous amount out of. But my process is step one, listen. Step two, kind of a deep dive. Go back through it piece by piece, try and see what else is there. if anything comes to mind, feelings, experiences, visuals, there's always more than people think until we get back into it and do that second pass. And then somewhere between the deep dive and the interpretation, we start putting it together. We get a through line, a story arc of some kind. So we begin at the beginning. You mentioned getting on the bus. So you were not in the bus to begin with. There was actually the motion of, so where were you standing? Where was the bus?
It's just, there wasn't anybody behind me or surrounding me, and there wasn't a line to get on. I just remember stepping up the steps to get on the bus.
Okay. And do you remember anything about the environment? City street?
It's a city street, suburban, and not crowded. And it would be like a suburban bus route. Don't know where we were going.
Fair enough. Yeah. Any particular features of the bus? Older, newer, any particular?
Well, I'm getting flashbacks from the bus that I haven't ridden a bus since I was 16. That was many years ago.
That might be relevant too.
So it's a bus from whatever a bus looked like back then is what was in my head. Right. So, I mean, I got my license at 16, so that's pretty much when I stopped riding the bus. So it was what buses look like, just standard issue city bus.
Fair enough. And this is the part too, where I could have said, what kind of bus? And you're like, it was a school bus. It wasn't, but it could have been. No. So that's why I always ask about that guy. Otherwise I'm in my own head going, okay, a bus. I know what a bus looks like. I don't know what you think a bus looks like. So I try.
It was not, how some buses are crusty. This was a nice bus. It was a nice bus, and it was newer, and it hadn't yet been, how buses get. It hadn't seen that much life.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually going to be probably some manner of relevant thing too as well. And that's exactly the kind of volunteer details anytime. Cut me off and say, wait a minute, let me tell you this thing. Because if you had, specifically said, I got on this bus and it was nasty, it was not a bus I wanted to be on, that would be something different. But this was, this was not an unpleasant experience.
Right.
Relatively clean, new, not crusty, not as bad as it could be had it been in long service. Great details. And this is always the stuff that comes up. People tell me the story and they're like, it's not very long. There's more than you think, right? Very interesting so far. So I had another thing I was going to ask, and then I rambled. Did you have any sense of yourself? What you were wearing, your age, anything? I mean, you were just you.
No, it felt like me in present day. Okay. I didn't see myself, but I did not feel like my younger self.
Gotcha.
Like I usually know when I'm a kid or something else. It was me in that situation.
Gotcha. Yeah. Another thing is like, well, until you thought of it, maybe it could have been a younger self or not, or you don't have an impression from that time of having a particular destination. No. Okay. Fair enough. How long ago did you have this dream?
This was a couple months ago.
Okay. Those are always better. I mean, within a couple, the next day is ideal, but sometimes I get folks come on, they're like, oh, I had this dream when I was, 20 years old, 30 years ago or something. And I'm like, we can work with it. We'll do what we can. Not as fresh, but that's okay. So you stepped up onto the bus. No idea you were going anywhere in particular. And you don't recall at that moment do you remember seeing an empty driver's seat or just never really looking?
No, I just didn't ever notice. I don't remember that it was empty. I just don't remember seeing the driver. So I don't know. It wasn't one of those details that and I wrote it down after, I write my dreams down whenever I've got them. And I go in waves where they're prolific and when I don't get as much sleep, I'm not as good. But anyway, so I always write down every detail I can possibly think of. And I don't remember seeing the driver or noticing the driver. And I thought that was odd. And, and it wasn't a crowded bus. I really think it almost felt like my mission there wasn't to ride the bus; it was to get something so I could write the song.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. We'll see what comes out. That'll be interesting to hear.
Yeah. So your next experience was so almost in that sequence of events when you're stepping up onto the bus, so that your mind's saying, okay, in this general kind of framework, here's why you're there. You have a song you need to write down. That pretty much occurs to you as you're getting on. I think we're frozen again.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
I was just saying, so you had just finished telling me, you were, I was kind of rolling us through the sequence of events. Cause that's usually, it's like you get one flash of an image that's a conceptual idea. You have another experience that it builds upon that. I'm getting on the bus. I didn't notice if there was a driver. I want to write down a song. These ideas are discrete but connected. So your brain kind of said, you're in this kind of scenario. You're on a mission. Here's the reason you're there. You have music inside you, a song. You want to write it down. You need to capture this. So when I describe it that way, does that seem like the sequence of events? That's when it occurred to you. Once you were fully on the bus, you realized this is why I'm here.
And I feel like I'm stuck there with no paper, but I don't feel like I haven't sat. I'm not seated. And there was, and I talked about the. I have to get back to the sequence. I went and pulled up my thing. There was a couple on the bus. So when I get on there, I wanted to write the songs, but I had no paper. There was a couple on the bus, and they were celebrating their anniversary. And this is a couple that just recently got married, and they're in their late 70s. And that might mean anything. So I got off the bus to give them room. Then I got back on, and that's when I started to ask people for paper. And
okay.
So that was kind of sick. So there was like somebody in a seat there. I'm asking for paper. There was a woman there with a typewriter. I'm asking her, first the paper. That's not working. Then the typewriter.
Gotcha. So you actually didn't have the experience of wanting to write something down until you got on, saw the elderly newlyweds, got off to give them room.
I knew that my first thought was I was stuck on a bus with no paper and I wanted to write a song.
Okay, you did have that experience. Gotcha. And then in the sequence of events, you had that experience. Then you saw the newlywed couple. Then you got off to give them room, or had you already started asking people for paper?
I went and got my little notes so I could get the sequence right. I got up, I saw them celebrating their anniversary, and then I got off to give them room. Then I got back on and started asking for paper and the typewriter and all that. So
okay. Do you have a visual image of the couple?
Yeah, it's they're in their 70s. Both have white hair, thin, well groomed, not but just standard dress, nothing fancy, and they're happy.
Were they doing anything? Talking to each other, looking out the window, holding hands?
I'm not remembering anything. I just knew they were celebrating their anniversary, but I don't remember details about it because I was looking for paper.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing.
They didn't have any, so they weren't as important to me.
So do you remember speaking words to people? Like,
no.
Can I have some paper?
No,
do you have paper?
I did, but I don't remember anybody actually saying yes or no. I'd go up to somebody, and they were all women, all the people I asked, do you have paper? And it was just like shaking their head no. Nobody said a word.
Okay. Interesting. That's like I'm put little carrots next to stuff to come back to eventually. That's interesting symbology where you have an experience of speaking to them, making a request, verbalizing a need. It's all women you're asking. They're not communicating back verbally in the same way you are. They're making it clear they don't have what you need, shaking their head, but there was no offer of apology. There was no suggestion of alternatives.
It was like it was invisible.
It's just not even eye contact with them necessarily. They didn't look at you. They just shook their head and looked away, or
it was like it was one of those, not to get on the pity pot, but like, you don't exist, you don't matter kind of encounters. I hadn't thought about
that. Okay. I think you're frozen again. Now you're back. That was a much shorter one. If we can keep the freezing to like 0.5 of a second, that's perfect. We're going to get this done. I'm not giving up. Very interesting. Okay, so I hate to be so picky and I go through these things over and over again. It's kind of my process. Yeah. So you and the elderly couple, man and a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. The only man on the bus.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Only man on the bus. Not sure what that means, but that is a unique feature. There was one couple, one man. Don't know what it means yet, but that's got to mean something in terms of how you're conceiving this circumstance. You did ask them as well?
No,
never approached them for paper. Them. Okay.
I was giving them room. I don't know why I was giving them room, but I needed to give them room. Space.
Yeah. Interesting too. Yeah. Okay. Do you remember any specific features of the order in which you asked people where they were located on the bus, how that interaction played out? You went over here, then over there. Did you go up one side, down the other? Right.
So that I think there were only three that there might have been three or four, but I can pretty much only still see three.
Okay.
Two on the right hand side of the bus and one on the left. I just kind of made a circle.
Okay. And they were all rather dismissive and unhelpful.
Yes.
Gotcha.
They were.
Very interesting. So did you make a complete circuit asking for paper and then realized someone had a typewriter and then you went back and asked them?
On the left-hand side, it was like at the end when I saw them with the typewriter. And I'm like, okay, well, can I borrow your typewriter? And you must have paper because you've got a typewriter. And just shake their head no.
And you said it was the one person on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
That had, okay. And how was go ahead.
This was one of those dreams where, and I can't remember what it was, but some loud noise or something woke me up in the middle of it. So, I mean, I know there was more that was going to happen that I didn't get to experience because I try to go back because there are a lot of times where I can go back and get back in the dream, but it didn't work.
Gotcha. Didn't quite work that time. Fair enough. I was going to ask you how the visual image or the physical layout of the typewriter, was it in their lap? Was it in a briefcase?
Well, the interesting thing was it was in their lap, and the interesting thing was it was an old manual typewriter. I mean, we're talking before it was a manual, antique, the kind where your fingers would go through the holes if you hit the wrong key, because it was, we're talking old typewriter.
Is the one where it's the little round keys on a stalk and you just really have to hit them? Because, I remember those. I'm old enough to remember I used one of those once upon a time. And it was an antique when I was using it back then.
That is how I learned to type, was on one of those old puppies. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's relevant.
Well, and those are the ones that are purely mechanical. They don't plug in, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
then they had a style similar to that, but it was plugged in. Then we
Right.
got the plastic keys and the word processor units that even maybe had a
Yeah.
little LED screen that was just black and yellow, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, before even LCD. So
Right.
yeah. Oh wow, I remember those. Interesting. It put you, so it was none of those things
I'm
you
old
were
enough
familiar
that
with.
I'm old enough that this is something I learned on.
Right? Yeah. There's a lot of references to age in here. It's a
Yeah.
bus from your youth. It's an elderly couple. So you've got a wide gap there. An antique typewriter, the complete lack of any thought of using any modern device like your phone
Right.
to
Right.
capture the product. So
Because right now, if I've got an idea, I put on my voice memo and I sing into it, or I talk into it, or I send myself an email if it's the text part and not the music. So in present day, I use all the modern tools, but I
yeah,
was totally old school in the dream.
for
Yeah.
sure. So going through it again, did anything else pop up? Any feelings you
It's,
were having during the process? Any
it's really frustrating.
imagery we didn't capture?
I was frustrated and sad that no one would help me because I had this thing that needed to come out. I don't even know what the song was about, right? I don't have that. That wasn't, I don't have that content. But
Yeah.
I knew that something had to come out and I had no way of getting it out.
Yeah. Or specifically no way to capture it, preserve it,
Right.
carry it with you. There's, you could probably resonate with this. And this is something I was thinking about too during this whole conversation, is the idea of, lightning out of the sky and you got to catch it in a bottle. And if you don't have a bottle, it's gone. I've had ideas where they're
Yes.
never coming back.
That happened this morning.
Oh
There were
no.
I got two song ideas this morning. One I typed into my phone, and the other one, my husband said something earlier, and I told him that was a song, and then we kept walking, and I forgot about it. And then halfway later, there's something else he said, and oh my God, that's a song too. And then so I typed that one in. I go, what was the other? He goes, you had another one earlier. I said, what was it? Neither of us could remember.
Oh, terrible. Yeah.
This is on the same walk.
That is tough.
Yeah.
I love,
So I try to get them down.
yep. I love the metaphysical, and mythological framework for things. And so the idea of the Greek muses, sometimes you hear their voice and they're not going to repeat themselves. They
No.
they choose not to, or, for whatever it is, that's as good a metaphor as anything else. So yeah. So before I get into trying to suggest things, I've thrown a couple of things at you, pointed to a couple of things that I thought stood out to me. After having described it a second time, does something stand out in terms of feeling important to you? So,
It didn't. When I first thought about the whole, you mean as far as symbolism, or just
literally
my own?
anything that occurred to you,
Okay,
what you think it means. Yeah.
the thing that occurred to me that I didn't catch the first time around when I wrote it, or even when we were starting to talk about it, was that I had something to say and I couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is the most important for me right now. The thing that's going ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
And before, when it first came out, I have been doing a lot of traditional writing and painting. I have not been doing songwriting for about a year. So I just thought it had to do with the fact that I let my music go by the wayside. And but it's obviously deeper than that.
Possibly, but it could be something deeper that is literally expressing itself through that window of the music.
Yeah.
Like this is something more, but you can see it through this portal or this portal, all the portals on the ship looking out the same direction in a sense. Right. Just made that up. Proud of it. There's my little lightning in a bottle. That is exactly something I would have come around to. There's definitely a failure to capture, a desire to capture an artistic drive that is being frustrated, and there's the setting that it was put in. So we've got a couple of different time frames to work with in terms of the iconography of the bus, last time you rode a bus was when you were a kid. So maybe something about that time in your life or the way you conceive of it, looking back on it, is trying to give you a clue to kind of frame the picture. You're on the kind of bus you would have rode as a kid. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there's no driver. We haven't gotten into that yet. But the other framework is 2 months ago when the dream happened. So there's some thought process leading up to that made you conceive of this idea in this visual form to try and give it understanding to yourself, if that makes sense. So maybe if we talked a little bit about what you were going through a couple months ago, if there was anything on your mind, were you in the middle of a project, finished a project, looking for another one? I
was deep in the middle of launching the Sock Monkey Revolt. It came out April 19th. So I was deep in that's an intense, leading up to launching a publication is really an intense amount of time of the things that you're working on and all the other components that come to get that together. So that's what was going on then.
It is a very intense time. That'll bring up some emotions and make you look at your process, definitely, and how because you had just captured something on paper to put it out there. Yeah. And so this was, the dream happened before or shortly after the launch?
It was shortly before the launch.
Okay.
The actual launch date. But the intense time was not necessarily the launch date. It was that time, I would say the most intense was the month before. A lot of social media stuff, a lot of tweaking websites, a lot of, it was more a lot of administrative because I'm not, at this point, I don't have staff. So I am the web person. I am the, social media person. I am the everything. So yeah, there was a lot going on.
That's interesting too. So we've got the art of producing art and we got the business of producing art, and they are two different things. And the more you got to focus on the business, the less time and energy and focus you can put on doing the thing you're there to do, doing the art. That seems like it's got to have some relevance to this framework of the dream. You've been denied a voice in a way. You've been taken completely away from the artistic creative side, and now you're into paperwork, and you need something to write with. You need to create logs or track. You got to track records. You got to go to websites and you got to upload things. You got probably taking a lot of notes in that time and checking a lot of boxes.
Or you should see my list.
Right. I make lists of my lists. I feel you. Yeah. So there might be something in there of like, you've got this song inside you and you want to let it out and you don't even have paper to write it on. So you definitely are dealing in that period of time with a frustrated artistic desire that's not coming out at all because you ain't got time for that. And if
that makes a lot of sense, but my traditional thing is that, the first thing I do when I get up is I do some. Have you heard about Julia Cameron's morning pages? Well, it's three pages longhand system dump. So it's great. You get all that out, and then I record my dreams, and then I meditate, and then I paint. So that's the first thing. I start my day, and I won't turn on the computer. I won't do anything. It's like that's my little sacred time.
Nice.
During the weeks into launch, there were days I didn't paint, and I think that keeps me grounded. And I have different muses for painting, writing songs. And the muses for lyrics are different than the actual melody. Those are two different animals. And then
I think in Greek mythology they are actually separate muses. One's like melody, one's music and one's lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember.
So there's that, and then I have been doing a lot of writing articles for different publications. So they're all different things. But unless I paint, which is very kind of abstract. I don't think I processed life real well.
Yeah. Did you kind of discover your artistic ability when you were about 15, 16? Did you look, is that when it occurred to you that I could do this? I actually have a talent.
I started painting with these ladies that are they're probably 20 years younger than I am now, but I painted with these ladies that were in their 40s. And I really kind of got into it, but then I let all that go when I went to college. And so I had this span from 18 till I was in my mid 30s that I didn't do anything creative. And then once I discovered it in my mid 30s, I haven't looked back. Then it became an everyday thing. But I had this huge span of time where I didn't do anything.
But before then you did, when you were younger, at the time
when I was younger, my whole life was, I grew up with, my mom was a music major. Our household was totally music. We all jammed together. And then there was a little loft in the garage where I would go paint. So before that, it was very creative. Yeah. Very
cool. Any chance you used to hop on the city bus from the suburbs out to go meet with these gals to do some painting? Is that how you used to get around?
Yeah, actually I did, because these ladies were they were, I don't know, some people's moms or something that I painted with. It was not, I must have really wanted to do it. I mean, it was, and they were very nice and yeah, wow. Yeah, until I got my license at 16, that would have been how I got there.
Yeah, for sure. And so maybe this might fit in. I mean, we might be getting close to why no driver. The bus can't move. It has no driver. It's not going to take you anywhere. It's not. You're not going to get the tools you need on the bus, and the bus isn't going to the destination you would want it to, which is possibly where the supplies are, where the ability to express yourself would be. You're like, yeah. So you're kind of thinking back to where this all started. You're in a frustrated creative moment in your real life. You're thinking back to that would probably draw parallel in your own mind to this gap in artistic expression, and that considering like, oh, I'm in another gap like I was. Well, I remember where I started from and what I was into. And then I remember rediscovering it. And this is where we were talking about, we got the monkey cards, like be positive. So this is probably as much as you were letting out your frustration of the dream, was probably a positive dream in the sense that you were even conceptualizing it as this denial, this frustration of an ability to be creative is bounded. It has a limit. I'll come back to it on the other side. I can actually get off the bus and just go somewhere else. If I'm not getting what I need here, I can leave. So you might've been saying to yourself, this period of frustration, lack of artistic creativity or ability to express it, because I'm stuck doing paperwork, this too shall pass, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It seems like, what's up with the fact that it's all women on the bus and none of them are giving you what you need? And there's one couple that you are reluctant to approach. Any ideas or thoughts come to mind about the composition? I mean, it could have been children. It could have been dogs on the bus. It could have been all women and no men. It could have been all men. But
I would have to say the women were my peers. And or they felt like my peers.
Fair enough.
Now when I look at them, they aren't. Way younger.
Interesting. So you're
way younger. Probably more in their 20s or, way younger. So that's interesting. And I think it's interesting if I think back about it, I'm not getting help from my younger self. It's really, I'm blooming more in my senior years than I was pretty darn creative and, in high school and everything. Then I had the gap. But I would have to say the older I get, the more things are like opening up. So I look back at the younger people in the dream are not where I need to go I'm asking the wrong people for help.
Yeah, the wrong people inside you, in a sense, that because those people on the bus were about the age you were when you had moved away from the creative expression.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like they were all me.
They very well could have been. And there's some theories that say every person and object in your dream is you to some extent.
think it depends on the dream.
I think it does. Yeah.
don't agree with.
Sometimes it's you, sometimes it is your dad or your
Yeah.
dog or a tree,
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah, no, I've had.
But if you get
Yeah.
that feeling, like if this is why I love doing this. It's like there's no right answer, but there's also no wrong answer. But there are. It's that's the chaos part of it. If you suddenly, like you just did, you have that moment where you're like, now that I'm looking at them, they weren't age peers, they were younger. They felt like a younger me. You get that moment, it's true because you felt it. You pulled it out of the dream yourself. That can't come from me, and it's not going to come from any dream book. But as soon as you get that feeling of like, whoa, that's what that was. That's the answer. We got it. And we can go with that. You know, you don't have to second guess yourself. And I'm certainly not going to say, I think you're wrong. Right. Because that feeling of significance is one of the most important parts. I could ramble a bunch of nonsense, and if none of it resonates, it's all wrong. You know, so that's where I'm coming from on it.
Well, you know, you're talking about the couple. I think that they are a happy, joyful couple. Their focus is not on their creativity. So that's probably why I didn't ask them.
Maybe so. Yeah. There's also some other additional layers there. Like, why would you tell yourself in your dream that they were newlyweds at an older age? They've started something new in their 70s.
They did.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, they did in real life.
Oh, you know these persons that were
I
represented?
know these people.
Oh,
this couple. I know
that
this
specific couple. Gotcha.
Yeah, I know that couple, and they.
I never asked that. I should have asked. Yeah.
Really cool story about. Yeah, don't go into how they met and everything, but they met later in life, and so they're in their 70s and late, you know, some of mid to, you know, and they met each other later in life, and they radiate joy. It's just so cool to see them together.
Very nice. So
yeah.
What is their representation in your dream? You could have had them walking by on the street and not on the bus, but you put them on the bus.
They were there, and I didn't want to disturb them. It was interesting. I didn't want to disturb them at all.
Yeah.
I wanted to give them space. Maybe I felt like I wasn't in a good space, and I didn't want to bring them down.
Maybe so. Yeah, this is what I was looking at, is like there's something relational going on there. They're an icon for something. You put them in your path in this environment because they represent something to you. Duh. But getting to that, but it's important to recognize that, because what it is they represent. So the associations you're getting from them are happiness, not wanting to trouble them. They're just radiating they're doing their own thing. They're iconic of people who've found something important, meaningful, joyful to them. And you don't want to trouble them. There's got to be some connection of that with your waking life circumstances. Like there's probably people you could have reached out to take part of your burden, but are you typically not like that? You're like, I'm gonna get this done.
Yeah. I'm very self-propelled and reluctant to ask for help, and I'm better about that the older I get, the better I am about asking for help. But it is a learned skill. It does not come naturally.
Yeah. I like to not trouble people as much as possible. And you know, there's two ways of looking at that. One is what is it? The self-aggrandizing for men, macho style. I don't need no help. I can handle this. I'm not weak. That's one part of it. The other part of it is not wanting to be a burden on someone else, which are actually, you know, two different things. One is about your ego, and the other is about not imposing on people, not making your problems someone else's. Like that responsibility to clean up your own mess type of thing. So there's two sides of that going in there, and there's probably more sides to it. But for you specifically, yeah, you put them there as this. I'm thinking that's where I was going with it. That idea of not burdening other people. You've got this happy couple, and you could have troubled them, but you don't want to. No. You're showing that side of yourself to yourself in this dream of like, a lot of this looks at like, how do I get out of this frustrating gap of creative expression, and you're showing yourself all these, who was I in the past? Where was I going? I'm not moving. I'm not getting the help I need from this part of me that, and losing my train of thought, but all of it, I don't know. I should let you talk a little bit. What do you think about what we got so far in terms of how it?
Oh, I think it's good. It gives me more to think about. And the interesting thing about this brainstorming and thought process is that I find that something later will trigger a section of a dream, and then even more will be revealed, and it's weird how I could have dreams from 20 years ago, and then something will take me back to that room or wherever I was, and it just kind of blows me away, so that there's something still there. So this one, I don't know how much is going to come later, but usually it will. In the next few days, more will trickle out.
For sure. I don't always hear back from folks, but I'm always willing to have people, stay in contact and tell me if anything changed. I like to give people, sometimes the best I can do is, here's what it looks like. Here's a better vision of it and what some of the elements are. And can't get much more out of it. Sometimes I try and help folks, like, where do I go from here? How do I use this? And I don't know. I suppose we look at the idea of maybe asking, you said you don't have a crew that handles things for you. Is that something you've actually been looking into?
I'm going to manifest it. I mean, as I get to a certain stage, I'm definitely going to have help with various aspects of what I'm doing. Yeah, right now, I film all the videos myself. I do everything myself. So
that's got to be a one-man operation in my cave here.
Yeah. So right now, that's where it is. And as the budget increases, I will do more. And so right now, this is it. This is how I get it done. And
that might be that. Like, if I were to leave you with a positive encouragement and a focus or path, it would probably be like that. It seems like this dream was representative of that. Like, how to remove obstacles to your creative process without being a burden on your friends and family, like that relational aspect of business partners or employees or people you collaborate with. And then there's your relationships, friendships, and you don't want to be a burden. You don't want your relationship with them to be, hey, do me favors all the time. That's not, right. It's not a relationship, So yeah, probably ever since that time of going through that experience, having this type of a dream that helps crystallize a few of the images, you've probably had this going in your background of your head, like, how do I decrease the frustration of lack of time and ability to be creative? And it's probably leading you down this path towards, well, once I have the budget for it, I can start outsourcing a little bit, free myself up to be more creative. And I'd imagine you probably wouldn't have those type of dreams anymore. That are
at least it's not a reoccurring, thank God, because that's when it's really bugging me.
Those can be fun too. Did you have a few of those recently, or?
No, actually things are really calming down. And so I haven't had anything, like that come up for a while.
That's cool. Yeah. I've talked to people before, and usually the, my theory, working theory anyway, and I think it holds up, is that, you get, as I say, crystallized images of particular iconic things. And when they come back in the same form over and over again, it's re-experiencing the same problem in your daily life or unresolved. Sometimes we theorize about something and we haven't wrapped our head around it just yet. So we keep turning that object at a new angle to look at it a little bit differently, see if we can pull it apart a little bit, what's on the inside, play with the parts. And that's where those recurring dreams tend to come back. We haven't solved the problem in our real life. We haven't grasped a concept we're trying to really get a hold of. So
just like Groundhog Day.
It very well can be. He needed to learn his lesson and break the spiritual karmic cycle of being reborn into that same day over and over again. I love that. Oh, it's still one of the greatest. Don't drive angry. And he's got the groundhog. I love that movie so much. Well, any other thoughts about the dream or comments or questions for me? Any pieces we kind of glossed over? I mean, I take so many notes, I can hardly read my own handwriting.
No, I systematically changed the way I was doing things. Like, I took my guitar out of the closet and left it in the room so that it was right there in front of me, and just little things, little shifts. But I think the thing that I'm going to investigate is being denied a voice and see what that is.
That's true. There was the other thing on there of like you felt like you were invisible.
Right.
There was this dismissive aspect of,
Yeah.
and we had originally, well, just a moment ago, kind of conceptualized it as you're not going to get the help you need from these people, but their attitude wasn't apologetic. It wasn't, I'd help you if I could. It was, I didn't see you. Yeah, which is very interesting too. I don't know if that resonates with you in any particular way of like trying to be seen as an artist or in any way, or not getting the reach you feel was possible. That's only one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I don't know. And there's always a struggle with, for me as an introvert, of wanting your art to be seen and not be seen at all.
Yeah, I would like to not be publicly embarrassed, so I put videos on the internet. No, it's a very much a I'm actually very comfortable in this format. If you were sitting right in front of me, I would be more awkward than I am, shall we say. And I don't ever really want to meet anyone in real life. I'd really love never to leave my house again, if possible. I'd certainly wouldn't want to go to an art gallery and talk to a crowd of people socially about my work. That's horrifying. Very idea. I can't do that. So there's but that's a very interesting connection. So enough about me, but for you, like the idea of this balance of introversion, there might have even been, I don't want to say I would have to ask you how you felt about feeling invisible to those people. Not good that they weren't being helpful, but comforting that they weren't putting any obligations on you either. They didn't expect anything from you. They were indifferent. I don't know what's there for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna have to like.
Yeah, it might take some more meditation.
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, we'll put it in the pot and see if it percolates. I don't know that I had any other specific notes. That was about the only other thing you could think of.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool.
It's kind of like, you get amnesia, when you start to talk about something like this. Seriously, when you're right in the middle of it, then you can't think of anything, and then we'll hang up on like, now I got it.
There's a name for that, stare thoughts. Thoughts you think 10 minutes later as you're climbing the stairs, leaving of the place where you should have thought of the thing, but you weren't ready for it yet. Yeah, stare thoughts. I didn't know it had a name. And I
didn't know it had a name either.
Well, that might even be an old name from the 1800s. I think that's in one of my books of historical dream literature. Wow. Like that might not even be a name anyone remembers, or certainly doesn't use today. I don't think I'd ever heard of it before. But he called it stare thoughts. What was that? What was that guy? Now I'm going to look that up. I can't remember that either. But all right. Well, if you feel like we took it apart, looked at the pieces, gave you some answers and some things to think about.
We did.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, good deal. Well, then, I'll just do the we're out type of business. So once again, this has been our friend Shannon Grissom, and you can find her at shannongrissom.com, also at Shannon Grissom on Twitter, etc. But most importantly, sockmonkeyoracle.com, links in the description below. And I'm just going to do my housekeeping. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Always need more volunteer dreamers. You noticed last week we didn't have an episode because it fell through. These things happen. I'd rather do 2 interviews a week than not have something to give you guys. So 13 books of historical dream literature, buy a t-shirt, coffee mug, direct donations. I need more whiskey for gaming and a new video card, all that good stuff. And I'll just say one more time, thank you, Shannon, for sharing your art. That's amazing. And everyone should check out the Sock Monkey Oracle.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. And everybody, thanks for listening.